Hello and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well. So before I say anything else in this video, I want to say if I seem like I'm very quiet and or low energy, it's because I am. I currently have a guest staying at my house and I don't want to disturb the guest or make them think I'm weird. So I'm sorry if you were looking forward to me being like, whoa, hey guys, welcome back to another video. But you know, next week, I guess. So anyway, hi, welcome back to this video. It's time for me to talk about another OC of mine, or another story of mine. I want to make it very, very clear again that this is a new story, so this character is completely unrelated to my last two stories. Just so you're not confused about anything, just keep that in mind. This is a completely different universe than my other stories. And yeah, I feel like this is a really fun story. I think a lot of you guys will enjoy it, and I think I say that for every single story that I share, but maybe that's just my way of trying to make you guys like it, so I don't feel bad about myself. Anyways, this is my character Aspen. I have a lot of fun drawing her, and I hope that you'll have a lot of fun hearing about her. So here we go. This is Aspen. Kind of similar to the characters in my last story. She doesn't have a last name. I feel bad about it, but maybe someday she'll have a last name. But her name is Aspen. She is 18 years old, and she is a female. And she is introverted, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a proper time to use the phrase, but you'll see why when I start talking more about her. But the biggest thing about Aspen is that she hates everything. Pretty much, that's like her character. Take the stereotype of like a lone wolf type person and then just make that like the extreme. She does not talk to anybody. She is very much on her own, and yeah, that's basically her. She speaks as little as possible and in as little words as possible. On the odd occasion that she does speak, it's in the smallest sentence that she can, and she usually just ignores people when they talk to her. Yeah, she's a woman of few words, I guess. Yeah, like I was saying, she's a lone wolf, and that's made very clear considering the fact that she's a senior in high school. She doesn't socialize with anybody, like even one person. Like I feel like everybody has that one friend that they're close with, or that one friend that they'll spend time with in school. Did you just come in here so you can cry? She has a reputation in her school for being one. Lily, what is the issue? She has a reputation in the school for being that like lone wolf for one, but also just being like kind of an intimidating thug, I guess. Like she's the person that nobody wants to mess with, and if you think of like, just think of the like stereotypical bad kid, and that's how a lot of people see her, and for the most part that's who she is. Like she just like is a jerk. She's not really like a bully, but she's definitely like not afraid to throw hands when she needs to. She like doesn't pay attention, she cuts class often, and then people just, they're generally afraid of her, so people don't generally interact with her. She's a very like, what's the word, stoic? I don't think that's the right word. Joke's on you, Oliver. The past, it is the right word. Take that, you dummy. She's a very kind of emotionless person. The only emotion she really expresses is she's not very an expressive person aside from anger. Like the only emotion that she lets show is anger, and she's a very like violent and hard-headed person and headstrong person. General impression of Aspen, just she's angst to the max. So the plot of the story, you'll see why Aspen is the way that she is once I start like talking about the story. But basically, I always refer to this story as my zombie apocalypse story, but really like that's not quite accurate. Lily, why are you choosing now to be a pain in my butt? I'm recording, and my dog's eating. Everything's going wrong. I always call the story my zombie apocalypse story. That's not quite true. So basically, the world is like a completely normal, average, functioning society, and it seems really normal. But here's the thing, it's not, because the story needs a plot. So in this world, there are these parasites that feed on the living, and that's basically what the quote-unquote zombies are. Once the parasites are occupying a living being, whether it's like a human or an animal, even plants, it makes them into a zombie-like state. And basically they're in that zombie-like state until eventually their life force is just completely drained from the parasites. So basically like the parasites jump from living being to living being, eating away at their life, and then once they die they jump to another living being to do the same thing too, and then that's how the parasites survive. And obviously it's like the people in the world are aware that this is happening, but they don't know why it's happening. Like they don't know it's okay, cat. They don't know that it's because of the parasites. They just know that these outbreaks are happening and they're just like, whoa, fucking weird. Yeah, they just don't know why it's happening and why. Like, they can't explain it. And then in this world, the government has like kind of like a secret branch, like just a part of the government that no one knows about, and it's dedicated to like figuring out what the heck's going on with these parasites. Like, they know that they're parasites, but they still don't know where they came from, why they're doing that, and if there's a way to get rid of them. And so they don't want to talk about it in the public, just to keep people from freaking out, because that's of course something that people would freak out about. They're already freaking out because they're basically experiencing zombies, but they don't want to talk about it until they have more information to give. And like within that area of the government, there's different units that are dedicated to things relating to the parasites, and Aspen is a part of that. She is a part of the Parasite Combat Unit, the PCU. If you ever hear me say PCU, it's Parasite Combat Unit. So yeah, she's the one who's, well, one of the ones who's really in the forefront of everything. She has her own reasons for joining. Everyone else is very confused as to why, because she's a literal high school student. Generally, her motivations are unknown by everyone else in there. She is really close to two other characters I'll mention in a minute, but yeah, people don't really know what her deal is, even in the government. So she's just a weirdo to many people. And yeah, that's the story. I hope that it made sense. As always, if anything in the story was unclear, feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer it. I'm not going to be answering things that are spoiler territory, so I'll either ignore your question or say it's spoilery. But anyways, that's the gist of the story. That's what's going on. It's my not quite zombie apocalypse story. So yeah, basically, like, I don't know what transition to use for my next thought. Isn't that lovely? So even in the PCU, or just in like the parasite branch of the government in general, like, she's still a very like lone wolf type. She is very close with two characters in the story named Lincoln and Beatrix. Don't know if anyone remembers them because I barely draw them, but they'll get their own video eventually. But they're very close. Their relationship is kind of like a combination between like mothers and sisters, I guess. I don't know. They have like, Lincoln and Beatrix are still very young, and so they're not quite like a parental figure, but they're still like have that sort of bond-ish, but they're also kind of close in the way that siblings might be. So that's their whole deal. Like I said, not many people know why she joined. Like, you can probably assume that Lincoln and Beatrix do. Like, you probably were able to figure that out. But also, that being said, her goals are like completely unknown to anybody. Like, Lincoln and Beatrix know what led to her joining, but they don't know what she wants to get out of joining them. Another thing you could probably figure out by now is that Milo and Bishop do end up getting dragged into all of this, and I'll talk about that in their own videos. But yeah, she hates them. And so when they get dragged in it, she's like not super jazzed about it. She's kind of tasked of showing them the ropes eventually, and she's not super jazzed about that. They end up becoming like a little trio. Not super jazzed about that. And yeah, once they become like a little team, she's really kind of the one like pulling the team along and like carrying the weight of the entire team. Aspen is very desensitized by many things, as I'm sure you can imagine. So like, she's kind of disconnected from a lot of the world. Like, she's just kind of in her own bubble and not really focusing on a whole lot aside from like herself and her goals. And so basically, she's a sociopath. She's not the type of person to go out of her way to hurt somebody, but she has her goals. She has like her path that she's going to take, and she doesn't care who gets hurt in the process. So yeah, and yeah, there we go. There's my child. She's a mess. Someone help her, dear God. As always, it is time to move on to the Q&A section. If this is the first OC video of mine that you're seeing at the end of every video / middle of every video, I do a little Q&A session that starts over on Instagram. I post a picture of the character and you guys comment any questions that you have for or about that character, and then after 24 hours I take it down and then I answer them here. The 3 questions that I answer in every single video is their birthday / zodiac sign, which of course, like the other ones, Aspen doesn't have one. Andy's group of characters are really the only ones with birthdays, but again, just like Jeremy's whole little gang, feel free to comment any suggestions down below and I will leave them for consideration, and I'll give you guys an update if I ever decide. Does she prefer ice cream cake or cookie cake? She likes saltine crackers. She's that kind of person. And use a vine to describe her.
I hate this damn ass bitch animal. Fuck me.
Moving on to the not traditional questions. Does she have a secret soft side? Kind of yes and no. Like, she's, like I said before, she's close with Lincoln and Beatrix, but it's not necessarily that she's like super kind and sweet to them. She's just not an asshole to them, which is her definition of like being good friends, is that she's not an asshole to you. How would she react to someone giving her a lap dance, but idiotically? First of all, I think that's the best question I've ever been asked about a character. Thank you. And second, she'd probably just like punch them or kick them or something to make them stop. On a scale of 1 to 10, how feral is she? I'd say about an 8. She's pretty feral. She's very feral at times, but also other times she's like, but yeah, she's pretty heckin' feral, man. How does she deal with Milo and Bishop? Normally, she just ignores them. Like I said, they're not the best of friends. She doesn't even like them. Eventually, when she does get to be like their team leader, she likes to boss them around and like make them do stuff. Yeah, she mostly just ignores them and reminds her that like they don't have to be best friends and it's only a temporary thing that they're interacting. Does she prefer healthier options when it comes to food? She does, but the only real reason is because of her job, I guess you could call it, since she is in the combat unit and she always is like fighting or at least like being physically active. She does prefer healthier stuff just so she can perform better in those fields. Is there a backstory behind her hat? Because I always see her wearing it. Kind of in a similar area of that question, I was asked if there was any specific thought or inspiration behind her design, name, and personality. There's no real inspiration behind her name and her personality. It just kind of came out after I designed her. And then as I was designing her, that's when I really got, like, as I was creating her, the story just came to me. And then over the time that I've had the story, I've just added to it. And as far as her design goes, I actually had a lot of questions about like her clothing and like her clothing options, which I'm very happy about because whenever I share Aspen, I get a little bit nervous because I'll be the first to say her outfit is a clusterfuck. And like, I don't normally design characters like that. I normally keep it not necessarily minimal, but limited in terms of like how many articles of clothing they're wearing and like the color palette that they have. But Aspen, like all of that just goes right out the window. But the thing is like there's actual reasons for that. So Aspen, like, she's very good at what she does. She's one of the top people in like the government for the parasite section of it. And then, but also at the same time, it's like she's a teenager and she's not very good at being a teenager. And a very teenager thing is fashion. A lot of teenagers care about what they look like and the clothing that they wear, even if it's just like a simple t-shirt and jeans. What clothes a teenager wears is usually very important to them. And Aspen, being a very bad teenager, dresses like this. She's got a lot going on because like she's not good at that sort of stuff. Her design has changed subtly in some places over the years that I've had her, for like the 2 years that I've had her, however long it's been. Overall, her design has stayed pretty much the same. Like, you can look at old drawings of her and you can tell that that's Aspen. Does she prefer coffee, tea, or something else? Between those two, she probably would prefer coffee. She definitely drinks a lot more energy drinks. She like lives off of energy drinks. She like never sleeps ever. Does she prefer cats or dogs? Similar to the last question, between those two, she would prefer dogs, but any other animal, if she could have a pet, she would probably want like a snake or a tarantula or something like that. Did she ever know a life without any zombies? If so, does she miss it, or what does she miss about it? She has known a life like that. It hasn't existed for her since she was like a pretty little kid though. And in terms of like what she misses from it, she doesn't even think about that life. Like, she just won't let herself think about that life because like she can never have that again and it will just stress her out thinking about it. Is there any place she goes just to chill out? She likes going on rooftops, and if there's no rooftops available, usually just like somewhere where she can feel high and mighty and powerful, and just someplace that's like high with a view. Does she put the milk or cereal first when she's making a bowl of cereal? She puts the milk in first, but the only reason she does that is because it annoys the crap out of Milo. You said before that you have fun drawing her because her character is different from your other characters. Why do you think that? Well, first of all, Aspen is by far my most aggressive character. I don't have a lot of like super aggressive characters, and even the characters I have that are aggressive, there's still a person that they're a person with, I guess you could say. So like another character would be Sawyer. Sawyer's a pretty relaxed person around Cairo and Mabel, and then we have Jeremy, and he's more relaxed around Aurora. But Aspen doesn't really have that. She's just pretty aggressive and has her guards up at all times. And I don't think I have a character that's just like not really the best of people. Like, obviously, like, my characters have flaws and stuff in them, but honestly, like, Aspen is pretty, like, she's not a great person, and that's part of the reason why I like her. You would think that that would be the opposite, and I would hate her, but I don't. And it makes sense with the story, but just I just talked about how her clothing is very different. Like, I normally try and have some sort of cohesion throughout all of my character designs, but Aspen has a lot of character designs that, like, to me, go together, but don't seem like they should go together. Like, if you saw Aspen walking down the street and she was a real life person, you would think that she looked awful. Just the fact that, like, they're not supposed to go together, and that's what makes it go together. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but the point is I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish with her design. If she's more of a boyish character, why does she have a pinkish skirt? I don't mean to sound stereotypical, but I'm just curious about it. A big reason is just because of a silhouette. A big part about designing a character is making sure that they have an identifiable silhouette. The big poofy skirt just kind of helps give a more, like, identifiable silhouette. Another part is because she was more of a girly, feminine person when she was younger. Like I was saying, she had a normal life when she was a pretty little kid, but then after that, it's just been like zombies, and so she kind of lost that. And so ever since that part of her childhood, she's kind of just gone through a lot and a lot of changes in terms of her appearance and her personality, but that's kind of one thing that stuck. What is her best and worst quality? If you were to ask me what I think her best and worst qualities are, I would say her best is her motivation. She is the type of person who gets things done. And probably her worst quality is her lack of emotions and lack of empathy. Because of her lack of, like, empathy for other people and her lack of caring for other people, because she's so motivated, she isn't afraid to throw someone under the bus or, like, hurt them if it just is in her best interest and is helping her achieve her goals. And lastly, does she prefer to be a hero or a villain? Kind of playing off of the last question, like, she doesn't really care. Again, it's more of just whichever one benefits her. Like, if being the good guy is what is going to help her in the end, then she'll be a good guy, but if being the bad guy is more beneficial to her, then she'll do that instead. And yeah, there we go. I feel like that's how I end every single video of mine. And yeah, there we go. But yeah, anyways, that's that. You guys had a lot of questions for Aspen and a lot of good questions for Aspen. If I were to answer every single question I want to answer, we'd be here for a million years, but thank you so much. It really means a lot to me that you guys even care enough to ask questions about my characters, because it means that you're interested in them at least a little bit. So thank you for that. And if you want to be a part of something like this in the future, go follow me on Instagram, because that is where I make these posts. I make them once a month. And with that, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If this is the first video you're seeing of mine, or the first OC video of mine that you're seeing, I will leave a playlist of all of my other OC videos in the iCard for you to check out if you want. And if you liked this character or just the art in this video, why not subscribe? I'd appreciate it. If you stuck around, then you will see a new video from me every single Wednesday. Sometimes it's a not art related video, but most of the time it is an art related video. And you can also follow me on any social media if you want. They will be on screen now and linked in the description box below. I mentioned Instagram earlier, and that's because I am most active on Instagram, and if you want to be a part of a future video or just see more of me, go over there, because that is where you will find those things. And there will also be a video on screen now and in the iCard for you to watch if you want. Again, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.